Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to explore a truly fascinating concept, how our biological wetware actually dictates our reality, and exactly what that means for our civilizational future. You know, we love to think of ourselves as these highly advanced, incredibly rational beings smoothly navigating the digital age. But the truth is, we are running state-of-the-art software on some seriously ancient hardware. So today, we are decoding that legacy code.
Okay, let's dive right into this by asking a seemingly simple question. Why, even with widespread electricity everywhere, does the darkness still make our modern brains panic? Think about it. If you've ever felt that sudden, sharp spike of anxiety when the power unexpectedly goes out, or when you have to walk down a totally unlit hallway at night, well, you've literally felt your legacy code booting up.
Section 1. Our ancient biological hardware. The evolutionary roots of human perception.
Now, what's really interesting here is the biology behind that fear. Nyctophobia, the fear of the dark, is actually an ancestral survival mechanism. For the vast majority of human history, darkness meant extreme vulnerability. Why? Because unlike cats or dogs, humans completely lack a tapetum lucidum. That's the reflective layer behind the retina that gives nocturnal predators their slick night vision. So when our primary sense is neutralized, our brain just hits the panic button. The crucial takeaway here is that nyctophobia isn't some weakness or a childish fear. It is a highly efficient, better safe than sorry protocol hardwired straight into your amygdala.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how our biology reacts to protect us. Just look at the breakdown. In low light, your pupils dilate to maximize whatever light is left, and the amygdala fires up for threat detection. What happens if you hear an unknown sound? Boom. Your brain floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline to prepare for immediate physical action. See a weird shadow pattern? Your brain uses pareidolia, which is basically a pattern-seeking glitch, to invent a face or a figure in the darkness. It creates a false positive because, evolutionarily speaking, it's much better to be spooked by a harmless coat rack than to ignore a hiding predator. It prioritizes your safety over absolute accuracy.
But hey, survival isn't just about avoiding predators, right? It's also about continuing the species. We carry other ancient hardware too, like the neurochemical algorithm of love. It isn't just poetry, it's a strict biological mandate. It happens in 3 very distinct stages. First is lust, driven by the hypothalamus for reproduction. Next is attraction, fueled by a massive dopamine surge that creates that obsessive honeymoon phase we all know. And finally, attachment, where oxytocin steps in to mediate long-term trust. We even subconsciously target mates with different MHC genes based on scent alone just to ensure a more robust immune system for potential offspring. Our hardware is constantly running these massive calculations we're not even aware of.
And sometimes evolution repurposes our hardware in the most beautiful ways. Have you ever gotten goosebumps from listening to an incredible piece of music? That phenomenon is called frisson. It's a dopamine-driven response to a violation of acoustic expectation, like an epic, sudden keychain in a song. But what's absolutely amazing is that the physical goosebumps themselves, the piloerection, is actually a remnant of ancestral thermoregulation. We used to fluff our fur to stay warm or to look bigger and scarier to predators. Now, our brain repurposes that exact same biological pathway to signal profound aesthetic and emotional reward.
Section 2. Glitches in the system, when our legacy wetware misfires. So we all experience glitches, but they come in very different flavors. First up, we have déjà vu. According to the dual processing theory, this is a temporary, highly individual neurological glitch. It's literally a millisecond desynchronization in your temporal lobe, where your brain mistakenly registers an event as a memory before you are fully conscious of actually experiencing it. On the flip side, we have the Mandela effect. This is entirely different. It's a massive collective false memory, where huge numbers of people recall reality incorrectly. Just think about your own memories of these iconic pop culture details for a second. So many of us vividly remember the Berenstain Bears with an E, but it has literally always been Berenstein with an A. The Monopoly Man, he never wore a monocle. And Darth Vader never actually said, "Luke, I am your father." No way. He says, "No, I am your father." These collective memory glitches are totally wild, leading to theories ranging from psychological confabulation, where our brains just logically fill in the missing gaps, to wilder sci-fi ideas like multiverse shifts or minor updates to a simulated reality. Regardless of the actual cause, it really makes us question the reliability of our own internal sensory archives. But before we go judging our brains too harshly for these little glitches, we really have to respect the sheer processing power under the hood. 11 million.
That is the estimated number of bits of data your subconscious intuition processes every single second. To put that into perspective, your conscious mind handles maybe 40 to 50 bits per second. So when you get a gut feeling about something, that's just your subconscious utilizing massive somatic markers to perform high-speed pattern matching. It's not mystical at all. It is natural computing at its absolute pinnacle.
Section 3. Hacking human consciousness, manipulating biology and belief.
The crazy thing is, we can literally hack our own biology purely through belief. The placebo effect happens when your optimism and trust trigger your brain's opioid and dopamine systems. This leads to actual, measurable physical pain relief from an inert sugar pill. But then there's its dark twin, the nocebo effect. Here, pessimism and anticipatory anxiety trigger your stress and CCK systems, creating new, genuine physical pain simply because you expected to be harmed. Your psychological expectation directly alters your physiological reality. It's mind-blowing.
And just as our biology can be hacked, our social structures can be completely hijacked to bypass our critical thinking. Notice the stark differences on this breakdown. Healthy groups have accountable leadership, they encourage open criticism, and they allow you to leave freely whenever you want. But a cult or a high-control group, they use intense structural manipulation, following what's known as the bite model of mind control. They feature unquestionable leaders, they punish criticism as literal treason, they use social threats to prevent you from leaving, and they absorb your individual identity completely into the collective.
So how do they execute this hack? By weaponizing our natural biological desires. They use a tactic called love bombing, which is this intense, overwhelming early affection to create an artificial dopamine high. This directly mirrors that romantic honeymoon phase we discussed earlier. Once you're fully hooked, they rely on cognitive dissonance. When the group's predictions inevitably fail, it becomes psychologically too painful for members to admit they were wrong, so they just double down on the group narrative instead. And in the digital age, these exact same psychological hacks are used to create massive algorithmic echo chambers, locking our minds into polarized collective stagnation.
But look, it is definitely not all doom and gloom here. We can also hack our consciousness for our own benefit, most notably through lucid dreaming. During a standard dream, you're just a passive observer. Your logic centers are basically deactivated. But by actively practicing reality testing while you're awake, you can actually train your brain to spot rendering errors while you're asleep. This triggers low lucidity and eventually high lucidity, where your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex actually reactivates during REM sleep. You become completely self-aware and can actively control your own biological virtual reality.
Section 4. Evolution and the Great Dark, taking our biology into the future. One of the wildest ways we are exploring the extreme limits of our biological hardware right now is through near-death experience or NDE research. These are measured clinically by what's called the Grayson scale. People report these incredibly profound cognitive features, like panoramic life reviews, alongside transcendental features like encountering intense light and permanently losing their fear of death. The massive scientific debate going on right now is whether this is just a purely biological glitch caused by oxygen deprivation and endorphins, or if it points to non-local consciousness, meaning the mind might actually exist independently of the physical brain.
And studies are absolutely pushing the envelope here. The AWARE study was a total game changer. It made a massive breakthrough by confirming that conscious awareness can actually persist for several minutes after the heart stops, during a period where the brain was previously thought to be totally inactive. Why does this matter to us? Well, because if consciousness isn't strictly tethered to real-time neural activity, it completely rewrites the entire roadmap for human evolution. It is a vital, foundational clue for futuristic concepts like digital consciousness and mind uploading.
Which brings it all full circle, right back to where we started today. We are a species eyeing the stars, preparing to launch ourselves into the deep, unknown void of space. But remember our legacy code, Nyctophobia. If our ancient wetware still triggers a hypervigilant panic attack when the hallway lights go out, how in the world are we going to psychologically handle the endless, literal darkness of deep space? Overcoming the Great Dark isn't just an engineering problem. It is the ultimate test of whether we can finally rewrite our own legacy code. Something to think about the next time you find yourself reaching a little too quickly for that light switch.